Hello, everybody. This is Dentistry with Sam's YouTube account, and I am joined with.
Matt's dental journey.
So, we are both a semester into dental school, and we have our thoughts so far. We did a version of this before school. So, if you want to listen to the differences or similarities of our predictions of what dental school is like versus what it's actually like through a semester, you can listen to that. But we'll be talking about school, life outside of school, the future of what we think dental school will be like, and kind of what we would warn pre-dents that are going into dental school, something like that. But I'll start us off. The first question I have is, well, I guess it's not a question, it's a statement. Our schools are very different. I go
Yeah.
to East Carolina University School of Dental Medicine. Matt, you go to,
University of Detroit Mercy, in Detroit,
and
Michigan.
we couldn't have more different dental schools.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about the daily structure of how your school is.
So each day for us, at least for the first semester, things were pretty different. They were redoing their whole curriculum for a couple of, I guess, classes, as well as upperclassmen. But for us, I believe so we had SimLab a couple times, and we'll get into SimLab a little bit later on, I believe, about the differences in that. But for us, we would have SimLab for 4 hours on Monday. Then we'd have lunch. We'd have a couple classes. Go home. I think we'd be done at 1. We'd come home and watch asynchronous lectures. So our biomedical sciences lectures were asynchronous. Or the professors recorded them. We'd upload them. We had sim. I believe it was 3 or 4 times a week, alongside with a couple other classes. So that was kind of our curriculum. But on certain days, we would be there till 5. So on Wednesdays, I think our classes were from we'd have sim in the morning and then a lunch. We'd have classes till like 5 o'clock. On Fridays, or sorry, Thursdays, same thing roughly. So we'd go in, but I don't think we had classes for the most part on or sim lab in the morning on Thursdays. It'd be pretty much all classes, and we had tests every single Friday. Um, our lectures were given on usually on the weekends, if not Friday, hopefully. But the goal was by Monday or Tuesday, and we'd be tested on that material on Friday, which I think differed a lot from ECUs and the way that you guys learned as well. Do you want to go into that, Sam?
Yeah, so we kind of have a similarity in that you get a week to study for the test. And depending on when you get that material, it might be easier or harder, but you don't get past a week because you have to study for that week's test. And then within a week, you're doing a whole nother subject, which is a difference than undergrad, because in undergrad, if you're taking anatomy, you have a whole semester of just anatomy. It's the same kind of concepts, the same type of studying. But with dental school, 1 week we're learning pharmacology, we might be learning embryology the next week, and it's an entirely different system of the
Yeah.
body, and it's entirely different to think in your brain about kind of the question stems they could ask. So that's a similarity. We both had 1 week to study. Your tests were on Fridays, mine were on Wednesdays. So that is different in the fact that I could use my weekend to kind of do my most studying possible because mine were on Wednesdays, whereas you unfortunately had school the entire week that you wanted to study before the test. What do you think your hardest class has been so far of dental school?
So I wouldn't say that. I would say there's many options to choose from. I mean, dental school is pretty tough, but or is pretty tough. But I would say the way that our structure is we have biomedical sciences. So we will go over. I think our like there's so many of them. We've gone through up to 4 at this point. So I think the first one was molecular. I can't remember what the second one was. Believe it or not, that's not pretty good. But third one was nervous system. Fourth one was about the blood and hematology. And those biomedical sciences, I don't really have one that was the toughest, but I would definitely say that either the nervous system so far, just because there's so much to learn about it, um, and that the biomedical science classes, I would definitely say are tougher. They're also, I think, a larger percent of our grade or GPA at that point. Um, and we just have to make everything count for those classes, especially because those are hit on a lot, and that's what a majority of our lecture is.
Yeah, and
But
that's a difference in our schools too, where you have had finals this week
yes,
at the end of this week,
I just finished
and
finals.
yeah, so that's a difference. We don't have midterms or finals, which I love, but it's also we don't get kind of a lower percentage
Yeah, so with
grade or
us,
something. Go ahead.
yeah, no, absolutely. With us, there were classes that we had where 50% of our grade was midterm, 50% was final. But granted, ECU did have something that you did. Sam's going to explain it, but there were some classes. It wasn't the biomedical sciences because those were roughly, depending on the class, 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks max, I believe, where we would go through each one of those biomedical sciences. Sorry to interrupt, Sam, there,
No, no,
but
you're good.
50% was that brought back some memories because it's pretty fresh
Yeah,
memories.
yeah, that it's rough. My hardest class so far. Probably immunology gave me the most trouble. Um, Grade point wise, we have a 70% to pass every test. That's our breakoff point. If you get below a 70%, you're cooked. If you're above 70, like you're good. So I think I got a 78 on immunology, which was the closest I got to that 70%. So it kind of freaked me out. But over the course of my first semester, I think my average grade over all the 17 or so tests we had was around an 87, 86, 87, which I'm happy with. I don't really care about GPA, and that's going to probably be another question I ask is what our GPA is. But I'm going to give a little bit of a story to pre-dents who wonder how difficult dental school actually is. I had head and neck anatomy, which we had a two-part test. So it's basically kind of like a midterm and a final over the course of 2 weeks. Our professor came from a undergraduate university in Texas. It was where she taught head and neck anatomy to undergrad students, and we had the same course but for dental students. She taught head and neck anatomy in undergrad in a semester. We had 2 weeks to basically take the midterm and the final. So if that gives you a sense of how much information we're both learning per week and we're expected to retain to these predents, dental school is challenging, and you don't really know
Yeah.
until you get into dental school how challenging it is. And I don't want to be like all the med and dental school students that are like, oh, my school is more challenging than your school or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's just the fact of the matter. This schooling's challenging, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. One of the things that I really thought about, and I was actually talking with Sam about before this, was the fact that I think during our first 2, 3 weeks, we had gone through. It was more refresher material, I guess, like Krebs cycle, I believe, was on that stuff and whatnot, but in more depth. But we went through probably half of our biochemistry class in undergraduate in 3 weeks, and I mean in more depth. So it's definitely challenging. Um, One of the things that I do that I was going to mention later on, but I feel like I'll mention it now, is that the fact that if you're a predent, you've probably been told it's like drinking out of a fire hose. Which, granted, Sam, would you say that's relatively true, if not very
For
true?
sure, yeah.
Um, but I don't think you really understand how difficult it really is until you're actually facing the fire hose head on and you're being thrown the information. Not to say that it's not going to be worth it in the end, or that we're not like passing our classes or doing very well in them, but um, it is truly more challenging than I was expecting. And just the fire hose thing, that's one thing that really stuck with me all throughout dental school, or up to this point at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah, the thing is, it's a weird balance because it's so like this is the hardest I've ever had to study yet.
Yeah,
Everybody passes at the same time. And if someone, if I fail one exam, like it's not the total end of the world, but everybody passes. That's the funny thing. Everybody's so smart in dental school. It's not like college where you have those one kids at the back of the class and they're never
yeah.
paying attention. They just fail out. Everybody's smart in dental school. That's just like the thing. So
Yeah.
moving on. It's kind of the same topic. The most enjoyable subject you've studied, and no subject is kind of enjoyable, but what do you think you had the most fun studying?
So I really like learning about viruses, kind of that kind of part of biology where you're learning about, I guess, symptoms is a huge thing, and reactions, body reactions to having a foreign pathogen. I think that's very interesting. But again, like Sam said, it's one of those things where it's hit and miss, where it's like reading a book. Like you can really enjoy the book, but knowing that you're going to be tested on it, it makes it a little bit more stressful.
for
But at
sure.
the end of the day, that's one of the things that I probably enjoyed most was viruses. What about you, Sam? That's a great
So
question.
I talked about how difficult our head and neck anatomy was, but at the same time, I knew that I'm going to need this information for the rest of my
Yeah,
future career. You know what I mean? So it was kind of nice to know that this information is applicable to what we need as dentists. And I enjoyed learning about the body. It was pretty fun. The professor we had was amazing with it. It was a good experience for me, even though it
yeah,
was challenging. And I think, you know, with the DAT, nobody has fun studying for the DAT, but it is fun if you do well in it and you're like, oh, I know how to master this. I don't know. It's kind of fun. So speaking of the DAT, would you say this, we only have one semester worth of dental school to base any of this information off of? I want to make that disclaimer. Do you think it's harder or easier than studying for the DAT?
I would. I think that one of the things I was going to mention earlier was how surprised I was that my brain was able to retain as much as I could. Like DAT was definitely one thing where it was just a lot of information, very short amount of time being tested on. So I would say that the DAT, when I look back, yes, it's very stressful. It's very hard. It's the test to get into dental school, right? So that makes it high stakes as is. But I would say dental school is tougher than the DAT, just because we're learning about the stuff that was on the DAT, but in so much more depth. And I think that's what makes it challenging. Also, that it's not 3 months and then you take the or 6 months and then you take the test. It's like this is a continuous learning process where things are going to build upon each other. But I think I would say that dental school is probably tougher, just because of the amount of information and the amount of depth.
Yeah, it's two different types of
Yeah,
studying too.
100%.
Um, I would say dental school as well, man. It's again as pre-dents, and I know people in dental school disagree, and they said the
Oh
DAT
yeah,
was very difficult to study, and it is difficult. I think what adds to the difficulty of the DAT is knowing that if you get a poor outcome, you're less likely to get into dental school. So there's a different pressure
yeah.
um than what we're taking now, where if we
People can
fail,
coast.
yeah,
People
you
can
can,
coast.
yeah, if yeah. I mean, there is a lot of pressure in dental school right now. If I fail more than 25% of my classes, I am out of this class. Like that's a pressure. Um, but it comes with the territory. So,
Just different.
speaking, yeah, it's very different. It's hard to make a one-to-one comparison.
Yeah.
But speaking of studying, what are your kind of study habits? What do you use to study? How do you study? Just speak to me on how you study.
So when it comes to studying, to be honest, I really don't think I found my way yet. And I know that's kind of crazy because I am, a month into or a semester into dental school. But I tried different things. I think that what works for me is going through the notes, but also there's people in my class who will make stuff for like others, like Anki decks. There's a lot of Anki decks that are made. There's study guides that are made. There's outlines that are made, and those are I think the most helpful because just being given a lot of slides, like yes, it's that's primarily what I would say to use to study. I haven't found my way yet, Sam, and that's it does make me a little bit nervous, but I've gotten up to this point. I've passed my classes, but definitely using resources from friends and whatnot, as well as the slides. I think those are the two biggest things, as well as Anki. There's a culmination of those three things, to be honest.
Yeah, it's as I spoke to before, we have to learn a bunch of information every single week, most of which is not repeatable. It's entirely new concepts. I have found Anki to be a lifesaver. Most of my class uses strictly flashcards. Like I don't, I'm trying to think if there's any students that don't use flashcards. If there is, I probably haven't talked to them about it, but it's either Anki or Quizlet for everybody. And it's just repeating the flashcards, repeating the concepts. Um, and that's pretty much my study habits. I just spam flashcards.
Yeah. See, I don't find that very interesting because I know it's great, like it has worked for me, but at the same time, it's like when I see a question that pops up on Anki and I'm like, I really don't want to answer this right now.
Yeah.
There's times where I'm guilty and I'll just be like, I don't want to do it. I'll skip it.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
One of the things that I want to ask you, Sam, is have your study habits changed from undergraduate? And I guess I know we just answered it, but have they changed?
Definitely have changed. You know, oh man, watching lectures has, for me, it's not beneficial. And I have the benefit of having tests where it's just tested on the PowerPoint. I know you might have more information on what the professor says, but luckily, ours are more focused on what the actual information on the PowerPoint is. So definitely, I haven't rewatched a single lecture.
I don't think
And
there's time.
no, there's not really time. And it's it's kind of boring, but now I just do flashcards. And I used to rewrite notes, like for the DAT especially. I used to rewrite every single biology chapter, every single like word. And now I barely write. I just do flashcards. And I kind of dumbed it down for me to just do that. And it's worked to me so far. It's worked for me so far. If it doesn't start to work, I'll probably add something else, maybe rewrite like high yield stuff, but I'm gonna just stick with the flashcards for how has it changed for you? What did you do in undergrad that you're not
So
doing now?
I think that a lot of our classes, to be honest, were more application, or at least for science, like orgo, general chemistry. Like that's more like that. Like for me, I guess I know I've mentioned this before. I liked orgo. I thought that was
Me
it's like a
too.
puzzle. Versus here, I feel like it's more strict memorization. Like that's what dental school I feel like at this up to this point, and application when it comes to being in sim lab. But when you're in those biomedical classes or those science classes right now, it's memorization. Like you have to memorize the slides. There are some professors, depending on the class as well, that'll test you on how it applies to the body. Like drugs, we've learned about some of the drugs and the interactions that it has with the body, or you can't pair certain ones. But ultimately, I think that for me, I've been focused on trying to memorize more than being able to, I guess, do it as much. I don't really know how to describe it. I guess for me it's more memorization. So I've been trying to figure out how I best can memorize stuff. I know for the DAT it was repetition, and they also gave us problems. That's the other thing. In
Yeah.
dental school, at least for us, we haven't had those things where DAT, boot camp, or booster, or any of other of those services will give you practice questions,
Yeah,
and
definitely not.
there's not that in dental school. So it's making your
Yeah.
own, using your resources, AI resources or whatnot, to get to that.
Yeah. So we spoke a lot about one aspect of dental school, and this aspect of dental school, our didactics or our coursework is the majority of what we're doing right now. Especially for us for D1, it's heavily our didactics, but it doesn't mean that we're only doing that in dental school. I'm at least at dental school 8 to 5 most days, and we're not just listening and lecture that entire time. We're also doing lab work. So for you, what specific lab work have you done one semester at Detroit Mercy?
So our lab work is very different. Sam will describe his, but for me, we jumped into clinic pretty much immediately. I mean, the first day we were, or second day, I believe, we were using our handpieces, which was pretty immaculate. I love that. I want to be hands-on.
Hmm.
And so far up to this point, we've had two, two or three competencies up to this point. We started off with molars, mandibular molars, occlusal. Um,
I
that's
feel
that's
like
the first
restorations you're
rest,
talking about. Yeah.
both restorations and fillings.
Well,
We
which are pretty much the same thing, but yeah.
Yeah, well, or sorry, restorations and preparation. Sorry,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
sorry, not restorations and but yeah, preparations and restorations. So we've done occlusals on, I guess, maxillary mandibular molars, premolars. We did a class 5 on, I think it was number 9 or 10. And we've also gotten into class 2s, so MOs, DOs, MODs. We've gotten into drilling and being able to fill those with amalgam composite. I think we did GIC a couple times, um, which you guys will learn about all that stuff in the components once you guys are in dental school. Um, but we've been very hands on, very hands on. The one thing that does differ is that we are we didn't have our loops for most of the semester, I feel like. But Sam, how is yours different? Because once you're done, I'll continue on with mine. But
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So mine couldn't be any more different than what you just described about yours. We just got our hand pieces the last week of this first semester, and we did a ton of waxing. Dental waxing, if you don't know what it is, you can look up kind of pictures of the process. It's basically building a tooth out of nothing. We focused on this heavily to learn our dental anatomy, to learn all the cusps, the ridges, the transverse ridge, the oblique ridge. We did all the different teeth in the mouth you could think of. We built them, and that was to learn, of course, our dental anatomy. And we spent most of the semester doing that, which is a big difference for you because yours was straight into it, and ours were
yeah,
kind of first
I mean,
doing wax.
we barely waxed. Which
Yeah,
I mean, granted, I know it sounds good, like bad, but because anatomy is very important, but I would rather go into drilling and filling personally, but I do see that it is very important. And I
yeah,
think that next semester they might be also doing a lot. We might be doing a lot more waxing. I'm not 100% sure. But I know also, speaking of head and neck that we mentioned earlier, I have a head and neck lab
yeah,
next semester.
yeah. But
So
yeah, I it was just a bunch of waxing. We did some sealants. We did a whole course on occlusion, so um we made our impressions, we cemented our impressions, did a whole occlusal analysis, and it was just a bunch of that. But yeah,
did you have competencies on yours? Did you how many competencies did you have
yeah,
in sim?
we had some on our waxing and competency. It's the same thing as like a
Like a
final
test
exam.
for yeah.
Yeah, a test of your hand skills, basically. So our lab work was completely different. What was the most difficult or most challenging part of hand skills in general? It's a whole new experience.
Yeah, so hand skills are very like the first day it's like learning to drive a car without ever seeing a car to be it's like very different. It's making it like an extension of your body. So when you're pressing like the foot pedal, knowing the speed and how how far you can go inside the tooth and whatnot, making sure you're in those parameters because like for certain like amalgam or composite, you have different depths that you can go to. That was definitely probably the biggest adjustment. But if we're talking like what we did teeth wise, definitely class two. Class two is, uh, I mean, it's definitely hard. It's an extension of class one, but if you guys don't know what it is, you'll learn. But the technique that you have to do is very precise, and you can easily make a mistake in many different areas of a class two tooth prep.
Yeah, yeah.
What about you? What was the most difficult tooth or difficult competency that you did?
I mean, we were very limited in what we did, but waxing a molar, having all the different anatomy of a molar
Yeah.
is challenging. When we took impressions, there's certain things about impressions that make it difficult. Nothing really too crazy, I would say. Like it was all pretty straightforward. Next question I have though is going back to the first time we talked, you were interested in specializing. Has anything changed in the one semester?
So I don't know if it's in the cards. Sam's outing me on this one, but to
I
be
am
honest,
outing you. I mean, this is news.
yeah, no. Well, I mean, the thing is with school in undergrad, I came from being, I felt like we were very up there as far as class wise. Like I don't know, our GPAs were very high compared to I think a lot of people that we had spoken to that were in our classes. But here it's very different. Everyone is so smart, and I knew that was going to be a thing. I think that I might, if I want to specialize at this point in time, I might have to do an AGD, so an extra like residency if that's something that would even help, I'd have to look into that. But at this point in time, I feel like people that were upperclassmen told me like it'll get to a point where like you just want to pass, and I think that's hit for a lot of people. I don't particularly know about at my school, but I don't want to just pass. Like I want B's and up now, and I know for specializing you really need A's or A pluses. We have a plus minus system here. I'm not sure if you guys do there as well, but I think honestly now it's going to be general, which I'm looking at it now as it's different in the fact that you can do pretty much anything that you want, anything that any specialist can do, as long as you feel comfortable with it, which is something that's also a great thing about general dentistry. And but at this point in time, I'm content with just trying to pass my classes, and I guess I don't want to say just pass because that I feel like means C's, but do well in them. But there's so many smart people in my class. So props to all my classmates and whatnot. Like that, like it's very impressive. Um, yeah, no, I think it's general right now.
Okay, so for pre-dental students who would be starting dental school, they just heard about what dental school they're probably going to go to. After one semester, what would you tell those students, or what would you wish you told yourself when you started dental school?
Well, I'd first off say congratulations. Like that's a huge accomplishment. I would say,
And don't forget how grateful you should be to be in dental school.
yeah,
That's
no,
one thing. This shit is all hard, but at the same time,
it's gonna be
you're
so rewarding.
privileged. Yes.
Yeah, no, when I look back and uh, I guess we're deviating from the question, but when I look back and I see that, I'm down, like I'm in a point in time where I'm studying and I'm like, dang, like this is tough or whatnot. I feel like I'm thinking about the fact that, we beat thousands of people, or not beat, but we were chosen over thousands of people or hundreds of people to be in the shoes that we are, and ultimately just being grateful for that position. Like you're very lucky. There's many people who aren't in the same shoes as you. Show empathy, be understanding because you're lucky. But if you just got in, I would say first off, enjoy your time. Like enjoy your time, travel, do something fun, relax, just do nothing. Because once you're in dental school, it's the complete opposite. But once you, I guess, find like a group chat or something like that, one of the biggest things is reaching out to people, or not reaching out, I guess, but seeing who's in your class. I think that knowing people beforehand, if you know anybody, that's great. Like that's amazing. Like you know somebody, but um, maybe take initiative in trying to schedule something for the whole class, whether it's going out and doing an activity or something like that, just to like get a group together, get to know people. I think that's the biggest thing that we did in our class. Some schools don't, I guess, include a social activity during the first week, so make an initiative regardless. I think that's probably the biggest thing. But enjoy your time, do something
Yeah.
fun, relax.
Yeah, I mean, these are the people you're spending the next 4 years of your life with. And dental school, as much as you hate to say it, it is high school. At least for a smaller class size, for me at least. I know I am my own person, so this is my own experience, but it is I'm with the same 54 people 5 days a week for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. Whew, it is exactly like high school. It is nothing like college. I don't know what your experience is like.
So my class is very different than yours, just because we have three times the amount of people as you. We have 160 people in Detroit Mercy. This is the first time they're doing it to where they split us into sections. So we have two sections. There's like, and each of those are subgrouped into AB for section one and CD for section two. So I pretty much only see people from my section every day. So I'll see people from A or B every day this past semester, and I believe the next 2 years at least, until I'll talk about something that Troy's doing in a little bit. But I pretty much only see those people. I haven't found it to be quite like high school, um, but I mean, I think that finding your people is very important. I know a lot of people from the other section as well. Just from going to activities and whatnot, being able to speak to people, say hi to your classmates, even if you don't know them. Introduce yourself. It's like the easiest thing to do. I think that everyone's very understanding that this is a new experience, even if you're not from the state, the area that you're going to school in, find people, because the people that are there, this is still probably going to be their, this is a new experience for everyone. But our classes are very different in the fact that 80 people in one section,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we don't really have contact with the other section.
Yeah, the size is a factor.
You're very tight knit. You
Yeah, yeah. It's very different. Let's see what other things. Thinking about next semester or just general dental school in general, what goals do you set for yourself now that you actually have some skin in the game?
I think just maintain the friendships that I have that's one of them when it comes to social. I've met a lot of great people. I'm very thankful that I have classmates that are very outgoing, but also nice people. A lot of people are very nice in my class, so I'm very grateful for that. But when it comes to academics, continuing to get better with hand skills, um, and I guess just academics wise, just making sure that I'm doing okay. I think one of the biggest things that I overlooked was just the way that we're going to be learning, which we talked about earlier. But understanding the aspect of it's okay. Like everything's going to be okay, even if we're not. I'm not used to getting the grades that I am right now. I feel like there's some grades right now where I haven't received some of them in years. Um, Giving myself some grace as well. I think those are two of the biggest things. But goals wise, just pass ultimately. I think that's the first thing. But
Yeah,
do well enough to where I'm comfortable and
yeah.
friendships.
For me, I mean, you already know hand skills in the way of applicable hand skills to actual dentistry. So definitely for me, getting involved in the hand pieces, doing restorations, preparations, blah blah blah. It's definitely a thing I'll have to learn next semester, that you already have a good basis on. It'll be different with loops. And speaking of loops,
Yeah,
we just got our loops.
yeah.
Share with the people what you received.
So I went with Q Optics. I haven't even used these, and that's one of the other things that I was going to ask about in just a little bit. But I went with Q Optics. What did you end up? I went 3.5 Q Optics Ergo to be more specific.
Oroscoptic. Um, it's funny because these two brands are probably the leaders, I would say. I think they're the most popular. Some people get Surgitel, some people get Designs for Vision, Anova. But I think these two are the leaders, and they're the leaders for a reason, in my opinion. Oroscoptic, though, I got 3.5. I got Prism, which is not Ergo, which is the new trend, and it's not Straight, which is the old trend. It's right in the middle. I got kind of nervous about Ergo, I can't lie. And I know my back is gonna hate me for it, but I just got nervous. So I got some in the middle. Haven't used them. Don't really know how to use them. Well, I do. You just look out of them. But it'll be
Yeah,
definitely a learning curve for us this next semester. When we do this video again in half a year, we're gonna be experts, in
yeah.
my
But one
opinion.
of the things that so you're going into SimLab not having used loops, right? At all.
Correct.
So I've already been in SimLab for a semester, and there's going to be everyone says there's a big adjustment when you use loops. So going back and using loops, I think that'll be something that's very interesting that he's going to be going in without any experience to loops, going to be looking at teeth for the first time using magnification, and I've
Yeah.
already looked at teeth without any magnification.
Yeah. It'll be a nice little N equals 2 case study, that we're gonna be
Yeah,
doing here. Okay, another question, kind of to wrap up. Is there anything you do differently over this 12-week period, maybe a little bit over 12 weeks? Um, is there anything you would do differently?
um,
For
I
me,
think that
I don't really know. I don't think there's anything different I would do. Get
I
better
think
grades, maybe.
well, yeah, well, I think that's always the goal, no
That's a
matter what.
given.
But I I think first off, when I went into dental school, I was very like I'll do anything at this point to like get the highest grade possible. And now I'm kind of like, dang, I was killing myself. hardcore, like sleep right out the window, and I think that hurt me a little bit, Sam. I think that not getting enough sleep, I think that really took a toll on me. So being okay with doing okay, I probably would have done that a little bit differently. And I know that sounds bad, but I'm still passing. I'm still doing well. I'm not failing. I'm doing good, but giving myself more grace at the beginning than I did. I was very, very tough on myself. If I got a grade that I wasn't happy with, I was harder on myself than I feel like I could have been
Yeah, and it's
or
an
should have been.
adjustment. It's it's the same thing when you have your first difficult college class and you're like, oh, I can't just like coast like high school. It's like the same thing. It's just a new environment and a new standard. And there's a reason like you can't pick up someone off the street and there has to
And they
be
can be a dentist right away.
yeah, there has to be some level of difficulty that's associated with this type of schooling.
Yeah. Do you think if you went back to undergrad right now, you would have to study less? Like if you were taking the class for the first time, but it was kind of reversed where you took dental school and you did fine. But if you went back to undergrad, do you think you'd have to study as much?
Um,
Because I think for me personally, I think that undergrad looking back, like we're being shoved information here versus undergrad. Like yeah, we at the time it was like very overwhelming, but I'm very surprised at how well my brain has been able to like retain the information. And I would also say that when I say retain, I don't mean like retaining stuff from the first week of dental school, but regurgitate the information. I wouldn't say that I've learned long term at this point in time just because of the amount of information, but I'm surprised at how well my brain's handled this, to be
yeah,
honest.
I think for both of us, if we were to go back, because we did the same classes at the same college.
Yeah,
For biology, I think we would knock it out of the park. I'm talking
yeah.
like I think we would be completely fine. For general chemistry, I don't think anything's changed. I think Gen Chem was like just so stupid. The type of questions you would be asked in Gen Chem with the calculations,
And he
with
did better in
all
Gen Chem than I did. Sam,
yeah, but it was
Sam,
still like stupid at the same time. Like the type of questions they could ask in Gen Chem. Ergo, this kind of the same thing, but I liked Ergo like you did. I don't
yeah,
know if there would be enough of a step up for us in chemistry, but definitely biology.
yeah,
I thought college was so hard biology wise, and
yeah,
now it's like no, that was easy. Come on, like
yeah.
it's
But
just
I
funny.
also have people in my class, believe it or not, that say that undergrad is harder than dental school. And I'm like, there's like this is the roles couldn't be reversed any farther.
The thing is with
This is
college, you can give yourself 2 weeks off. With dental school, if I take a
you
day off of
cannot fall
studying,
behind.
like especially for a tougher test, like that's a problem. So
Yeah,
that's
no,
definitely a difference.
there's no skipping days, unless you've got a photographic memory. Which
Unless
if
you have
anyone,
yeah, unless you have an easier t like some weeks I had an easier test, I could slack off for a day. But yeah.
then it's right back to the grind.
Yeah, right, literally.
Dental school is a grind. When they say that dental school is an absolute grind, it is like, but it'll be worth in the end.
Oh yeah.
It'll be worth in the end.
Thank you, Matt, for joining me. This has been
Thank you
great. I
for
will
having
see
me.
you in August after the end of the semester, sometime.
Dude, I don't
Um,
even know when our semester ends.
no, me neither. But I'll see you
Take
then.
it day
Thank
by
you.
day.